time to spill the secrets.
This is Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale.
It is Tuesday night. You know what this means.
It's Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
Are
Yeah,
you?
just hanging in here. Yep.
Hanging?
Tried to get some new glasses that wouldn't blast everybody out, but I think it's going to do the same thing. So it is what it is, guys. Till I can get
Prescription?
somebody to give me some new contacts or new lenses for my eyeballs. Guess you're going to have to deal.
Just going to have to deal. Where's your background? You usually have one of these great...
It makes it funky. Like I feel like I'm time traveling and going
you had
in
the
and out of
UFO
dimensions.
like over your head with
sombrero.
like the UFO alien sombrero. It's Universal Secrets again on this Tuesday night, April 23rd, 4:23. I haven't heard you say it or sing the song.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was singing the whole thing, but I wasn't prepared. I forgot the words.
If I was the president, would you have done it like Marilyn did it?
Yeah, I've got the lipstick on for that. And the white shirt. I just needed it to be a dress and have my hair all done for you.
Yeah, I put the K in JFK, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, okay. We'll tell you. Anyways, we are streaming live on our YouTube, Instagram. We are doing a show tonight, Tiffany, which dreams. We all have them, right? Some are good. Some are not so good. Some are great. Some are really great.
And some of mine are scary as hell.
And yours, so yeah, yours. And I can't wait for you to kind of share with our guests some of your nighttime escapades and get his feedback. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Always good to hang with everyone for the show. Do us a favor. I'll say this a few times. I'm so bad at this. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe on our platforms on this show. Give a thumbs up. It helps the algorithms. It does all the good things to get our show out there for the universe. And not us to be so much of a secret.
Yeah.
So Tiffany, what do we got? Let's give a shout out to Michelle Freed. When we started our show, stupid me just forgot to reconnect with her, and when I did, she like gave me her list of clients and their background. I was like, holy hell, why? They're just we're going to be heavily involved with Michelle because she's got some great people she's working with. Some of their talents, their stories. This is going to be a nice little ride with Michelle. So
yeah, and
this one was one of the high ones on our list.
Yeah, and we got it nailed down, but that's always difficult. So we were really appreciative that we have our guest this evening. And
are you going to try to say it? Yeah, I'll bring him on, but you got to try it. You're going to try it.
Okay, so guys, this is Machiel Klerk, a social entrepreneur, licensed mental health therapist. We can all use one of those in our lives. International speaker, dream worker, and published author. He has a mental health therapist, or he's been a mental health therapist since 2006 and currently has an online private practice. Machiel is fascinated by healing traditions. He earned a master's degree in counseling psychology at Pacifica Graduate Institute. He has traveled all over the world and studied many cultures and their healing and dream traditions. And in specific African traditions such as South Africa, which is his country of birth. He has published a book, Dreamguidance, with the respected Hay House Publishing Company. The book is currently available through Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and as a pre-order. Tell us a little bit about what got you so involved in the mental health industry and why you started relating dream work to that.
Well, I was in my early 20s and I was really stuck in my life. I was living in Amsterdam at the time, and I hadn't dealt well with the death of my father, who died when I was 10. I didn't know well how to deal with emotions in general at that age. My future vision was bleak. I was smoking too much weed, so I was sitting on the couch doing nothing. And,
you say that like it's a bad thing.
It can be a bad thing if you're in a bad place. Then it is. It made me lethargic. It's like the old notion of pharmakon, where pharmacia comes from. And in the old Greek tradition, it was both medicine and poison, and depending on the amount one would take. And I think in the same way with like weed, for the wrong person, the wrong amount is the wrong thing. For other people, it's medicine. Mm-hmm. And I lived in a country where it was legal, so it was easy to get. But in any way, it brought it. I was in a dark pit, and I didn't know a way out. And then by some chance, I stumbled upon the works of Carl Jung. And Carl Jung gave me some clues on how to view the world differently, how to listen to my dreams. And so I started listening to my dreams, and a flood of dreams came in, dreams in which I reconnected with my deceased father, that showed me where I was in life, and characters that gave me a direction on where I could develop into. And so I was able to, I get a lifeline thrown through the dreams, and I climbed out of the dark pit, and life became interesting and passionate again. And that is where it started. And it, in my case, over time, it also did lead me to work a lot on myself, and was very interested in psychology. And then I, on a certain moment, thought I would study it so I could make my profession of it.
Very cool. Very cool.
So how do this is more based on your studies, but how do dreams act as a bridge between our conscious life and the soul's deeper desires? Can you expand upon that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Very good.
And a dream is really an if we take any dream we can remember or recently had, we notice that we're in another world. We're in a world where we have an experience. It's interactive, and so the dream is a other world. Just like we might talk about some other inflictions of other worlds, like near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, or even fantasies in the daytime. Or if you read a book, you get into another world in a smaller dose. And so dreams are worlds we find ourselves in, and these worlds are partly constructed by the desires of our soul, and we encounter characters by times who advocate on behalf of our soul life for us to do things. So it's an experience of the soul and its desires at night. Of course, you can also experience it in this reality, but in the dream, it's easier for the soul to come in and communicate with us. Mm. Does that make sense?
Yes. Do you feel like we are actually able to connect to another universe or plane through dreams?
I think the dreams is another world, another plane, or another frequency that you enter in during sleep. And so you're really in another world while your body lays asleep in bed. you are actually awake in another world. So in the dreams, the crazy thing is we're awake. We see the crocodile, we think, oh, that's scary, let me run. And we just don't know that we're in a dream, besides those dreams where we're lucid.
Mm-hmm.
So dreams are just one infliction or one configuration of consciousness presenting itself in another world. And all these other worlds are all coexisting at the same time.
I've got so many questions.
Well, let me play along too.
You can play along. You just have so many.
Tiffany's questions are always better than mine. But one thing, with dreams, I heard this a long time ago, and I've stuck with it because to me it has applied to me, and in my nighttime visions. Dreams are questions that we've yet to ask or don't know how to ask. Buy, sell. What are you thinking? For the guest, not for the co-host.
Oh. Should I also comment on it?
No, that was you, not me.
Okay. So there's different ways of looking at it. It's the ongoing. There's an ongoing creation happening, and so whether we see it as ongoing invitations in life or ongoing questions, or something is ongoingly generating the next threat or the next element. And in dreams as well, we have dreams that build further on where we were. So dreams are always fresh and unique and bring up the next element for our life. And there are a series of types of dreams that we can have, like prognostic dreams, or dreams that comment on, are more like a psychological X-ray, show what goes on inside of us. Or we can even ask our dream before we go to bed and ask the dream a question, and then the dream will answer. So there's many ways, but it's just like this reality is also an ongoing creation, weaving it forward of our lives. And the dream is just the same thing, only at night. And because and the dream is even more than this reality, manifestation of our own psyche. So we see mirrored back our expectations and beliefs and desires and fears, and that is why dreams can give an insight of what goes on a different level within us or in us.
Gotcha. Here's one quick question: if we were / are conscious, wouldn't we be tapped into everything all the time?
Well, what do you two of you think?
I think that your body has to filter and use what it needs at the moment. We can't be tapped into everything and constantly thinking of everything. It's sort of like having this omniscience and this omnipotent power of our brain, but you have to be able to focus. So I think that maybe it's a possibility to be able to put out feelers for that kind of information and see if you could get your answers back. But then again, your body has to keep processing and work on a daily basis on whatever job is at hand too, or else you'd just be floating around in your head all the time. And I don't think that really works for most people.
I have insomnia. If that was the case, I'd never, ever sleep.
Yeah.
What say you?
Well, I think what you say, Tiffany, makes a lot of sense, and I also was thinking at the same time, we have our brains filter in a limited way our perception. So a dog will see different things, a bird sees different things. So they are tapped into other other states of consciousness than we. So it's more like we tap into certain frequencies, and that's where our focus is, and there we can, there we are. And if we shift our focus, we can tap into other frequencies or worlds.
So I'm going to tell you how I feel like this whole problem with me started. At 9 years old, 10 years old, I found this book in the library because I was having really weird things happen at night. So Out of Body Experiences, a handbook. Well, this was at my local library. I loved it so much, they just gave it to me. And it's been all over the world with me. It is one of the books that sort of got me interested in the fact that the human form also has something different that is able to communicate without physical form. Like, I think that I knew at such a young age that there was a way to connect with, whether it's our ancestors or a God or somebody. There was something going on. I was searching for that even at a young age. But what I've wondered throughout my whole life is that I think I weigh heavy on what happens in my dreams and in my nighttime. I do rely on that. I know a lot of people don't. They're just like, oh, it's dreams, don't worry about it. You know, wake up and do your business. But with me, I felt like throughout my life that there was something else going on. When I went to sleep, I went to another location, and it was like 3 continuous sequences of another life. Like, I had these other friends, I had these other people, I had these other jobs, and every time I focused on it, I could go back to that area or that place and continue with that job. Whether it was the military or whatever, I would be on a base. It wouldn't be the base that I was on previously. It would just be a random base. But each time I went back to those dreams, there would be a little bit different about the base, whether it was somebody had built a new building or there were new people there, or it was in all chaos and there was, bombs coming down or whatever the situation may be. But these lines of dreams and these connections seemed like more than that. They seemed like there was a reality to it and a time continuum. Like, it continued, whether I had that dream a year ago or 2 years, there was still some continuation of time going on in these places. And I'm wondering, how can the human mind either create these images or these stories, and how do they relate to us in our waking world? Because I think that a lot of that is based on psychology and your mental state. And what do you feel is actually going on in certain situations like that, when people are dreaming and they still have that same constant storyline?
Yeah. It is not an uncommon experience, and it appears that certain dream places have a longevity to them. So you can revisit them, you meet the same figures, and so that is one part of it. Appears they're real places that we visit at night, and like, it's another level of the frequency that you can go into, and that frequency has a certain consistency to it. What you also noticed is that, and we talked about it a little bit before, is that when you go into these other places, that your awareness moves to these other places while your body just is asleep. So your awareness is not, and all our awareness is not dependent upon our body. In the dream, I go to bed, and in the dream, I dream that I'm walking in the streets of Amsterdam while I'm now in Mexico City. somehow my own psyche generates a world in which I find myself while I'm awake, but I forget that I'm in the dream. And then so I'm walking around in this other world, no longer knowing that I'm in the dream world. And if you take that same concept to this world, maybe there's a larger consciousness that generates this world, dreams Tiffany and Kevin and Machiel as characters, and forgets that it's actually that it just created this whole world. So consciousness, the only clue it leaves is that consciousness is just always awake and aware in it, and it generates not only this world but also the dream world and the out-of-body world, and it generates all these worlds with the one constant, our awareness. And when we connect with this awareness, we start noticing that the awareness has the qualities of peace and joy to it. And this joyful peace finds itself in all these experiences. That is, what do you think of that?
It's difficult to process because it's strange that your whole soul can be here, yet it can be somewhere else. And there's just so many confusing aspects of it for me. And I think that it's always caused a little bit of anxiety because of the unknowns. Like, what happens if you get injured?
Well,
in one of these dreams.
Nice segue. Nice segue, because if you have,
do you get snapped back into your body? What goes on?
If you have evidence on your body from your dream, is it still a dream? Wait, well, what the hell is going on here? If you have, if you do something and you wake up, Tiffany, and I'm pretty sure you have, you've woken up, and where you've been, there's signs somewhere on you, that you've been there.
Yeah. But I think that's I think we're going into more of a potential ET adventure than maybe
I'm curious to know.
Body.
I want to know what his thoughts are when that whole alien ET angle when it comes to dreams. Do you have a thought? Or
quite a lot of people do meet ET or figures in their dreams, whether that and they're always been there throughout time. So in the Greek tradition, were called daimons. In the Roman tradition, it was the genius, and they seem to come. All these characters have something in common, whether it's an elf from Ireland or the Tokoloshi from South Africa or Bigfoot in North America. They are these daimonic characters that seem to live in the other world and have an ability to also once in a while appear in this world, and we encounter them in the dream world. And especially when we're lucid, that is when we know that we're dreaming, we can ask them questions. And what you then notice is that you encounter characters that possess an independence on their own. But dreams are not only symbols that, this represents so and so, because I've heard from people being in the dream said, you're a symbol, and then the character would say, I'm not a symbol, I'm so and so, and insisting on their own authority. And then to give an example, once I was in a dream and I became lucid, I yelled out, is there anyone with a message for me? And a character came flying to me and said, come, I'm going to show you something. So we were flying and he showed me how to cross a crossing. And in the dream, I was like, that's a bit boring. I had expected some revelation. And
the Rainbow Bridge from Thor.
Some instruction, who knows what.
Yeah.
But later on, he told me how to cross a crossing, and if I got anxious, I needed to stop. It couldn't go back, and just needed to go on. And later I wrote down the dream and I reflected on it. I thought, oh, that was actually really helpful. I'm at the cross point of my life. I want to leave my private practice, leave the clinic, go to private practice. I'm scared. It just says you need to go. If you're anxious, no problem, but just don't go back. But that saying is you encounter figures in the dream who have a consciousness of their own and whose consciousness is not infrequently broader than our own, who know things we don't know, who know things about our lives we don't know, who know things just in general about how the other world works that we don't know. And so we meet these figures, and we meet sometimes they're more benign, sometimes they're a little bit more scary, but that is where we can meet all kinds of figures, among them aliens or elves or whoever lives in the other world.
So that's probably dependent upon your experiences, your family history, your environment, your country, your basic mythos. There's a lot that is involved in that. Yeah. So is there a universal type of entity that people typically get the best kind of information from? Do we have specific guides per person, or
yeah
do we?
Yeah, we seem to have specific guides per person, but in general, this is what Jung would call an archetype. And an archetype is, for example, the old wise man or woman in a dream, or the helpful animal. Almost always will give us really good helpful information, especially if we approach them with respect. And it appears that we all have at least one or multiple of these figures around us, and some come in for specific tasks, and then and we can meet them in the dream, but you could meet them also from this reality directly, but in the dream you can meet them, and they can give really helpful information.
I've got to share this, Tiffany, and I wish when you got to meet Claire and her family in Florida a few weeks ago, I wish y'all would have talked about these dreams. She has some just very
Claire
okay dreams that she's getting messages or meeting up with people who've passed or something, and she swears by that they're coming to let her know that they're okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is Mila, her daughter, my granddaughter, 3 years old, will have dreams and share them with Claire. And Claire's like, Dad, she's not supposed to dream. She doesn't know to dream. How does she know? She doesn't know what she's talking about.
She's little bitty. What is she? Is she three? Three. Okay.
And it's how would you explain that when someone comes to you in a dream, and Claire swears by it, whether it's a relative that we've lost or some friends from school that have passed at an early age, and they come to her and literally just have a conversation, and at the end of it, they're letting her know that they're fine. And when she wakes up, she's just, she's either, feeling great, or she's, crying because of just the fact that she's reconnected with someone who's meant a lot to her. I mean, how would you explain those types of dreams?
Well, I think it's either you think about it symbolically and it is just the mind generates it, or you're tapping into something larger than yourself, where you meet the deceased relatives. And that's also where my journey started. I lost my father at a young age, and I hadn't dealt well with that grief and loss. And in my dreams, I started reconnecting with my father, and that's really a sense, oh, this is really Dad. And once, and in the beginning, it was I didn't grow up in a culture that was favorable to those kinds of experiences, so it was a bit weird in the beginning. But later on, I met other deceased relatives and friends, and I've studied so many other people's dreams that one of the features also often is that they come and they tell us that they're okay, that they're somehow that they're well at the other side. They don't very often come to us and tell us what to do. Like the character I met that said to me how to cross the crossing, that appears to be more a guide. These ancestors seem to be more coming, telling us they love us. They sometimes tell us where they feel they messed up and want to say sorry, and that they're okay. That's almost always that type of message. And the people that have these experiences also will most of the time say, yeah, I met Uncle Joe, or I met my mom. And yeah, you can't explain it by science, but the feeling tone is so overwhelming for people that they often think it's grandma.
You know, you can tell when somebody is dreaming. You know, there's different states of sleep, and those things can be monitored. Do you feel that? Have you ever heard of anyone in maybe a sleep study, if they've ever come out of an experience or a dream and been like, yeah, I just connected majorly, and maybe it was actually documented through a neural process, whether it was being monitored on screens? Do you think that there's a way to identify that we are having these interactions? Do you think that that's possible?
Well, I think that probably the same areas of the brain will lit up. That the more mystical parts will lit up in those people. I think it's and probably that way you would probably be able to say when you have these types of dreams, these parts of the brain are lighting up. But they sometimes give you information that you don't know. And I've heard once from a woman who had a dream of a deceased aunt who said, tell your mom to go to this and this room and look in this box. There's something for her. And there was something she hadn't figured out, and that was really irrelevant to her. And this girl didn't even know about that box.
Yeah, that's awesome to have experiences like that. Sort of the prophetic dreams, or the hidden information coming forward through dreams is unbelievable. And I think that's what you're saying, Kevin, is like even a child can have these strange experiences and then come back and say, yeah, I had a dream about this and that, and it was my grandma or your grandma or whatever. But there was one time when my daughter was little, my oldest daughter, she's 14 now, and she was about 2 years old. So she started seeing somebody in the house, and she kept telling me that she was seeing a boy in the house and a boy upstairs. And I was like, what the hell? There shouldn't be anybody in our house. There's no boys here. Yeah. And so after a few months of this happening and her talking about this little boy upstairs, and she said he's different ages. He's not always small. Sometimes he's big, but it's the same boy. And my brother passed away when he was 21. It was very sudden, very dramatic and horrible. And one of my girlfriends decided that they were going to get out the old family photo albums. And I had never put anything up in my house. I had no pictures of him anywhere. There was nothing. She would never have been able to see a picture of him. My family was too traumatized, and we still grieved, and there was just no pictures anywhere. She pulled out, I don't know, 30 pictures of family and like 6 and 7 people in the images. And she'd go through and go, it's him. Picked him out from the age of 2 years old to 21. Tons of different people in it. And she picked out every single one that was him. And not only did she say that she would see him upstairs, but she said that he would come to her in dreams and talk to her. And I had a connection with her. Yeah. So that was one of the times that I'm like, what is going on? There's something beyond the physical body that is still connected to our humanity. There's
Yeah.
still something connected.
Yeah.
So
yeah, beautiful. And
tough,
it,
but pretty.
yeah. Well, it's often thought that children are closer to the other world. And the other world is not a distant place. It's just there is no other place. It's everything is happening here. And so all these worlds are coexisting. And sometimes these figures can move a little bit more into this through these worlds. So we can move into their worlds through out of body experience or dreams, just like they can sometimes move here. And the younger they are and less polluted by our culture, the more they're open and connected to the other world. And young people have more often have this type of experience. And the older people say, "Oh, it can't be," or "Don't be so weird," and then that connection goes closest. But we can also work on opening it up again.
Have you noticed an impact on the mental health industry when it comes to dream analysis or dreams and psychosis?
Yeah. So
Good one.
Two different questions. The psychosis is kind of another world as well.
Mm-hmm.
People see and hear things that we don't see and hear, but it doesn't mean that they're making it up. It's like they're in a waking dream, and they're seeing and hearing these things, and they're really seeing it. So telling them, "Oh, it's not there," that doesn't work. It's more like, what do you see? What do you experience? Tell me about it. And then figuring out how do you live in relationship to them. And in psychosis, it's very often unwanted manifestations of the other world. So understanding dreams is very often very helpful to work with psychosis, because if you understand that how the dream works, the psychotic world has some parallels to it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that there is, we talk about a veil between our dimension and other dimensions. Do you feel like it may be sort of a super ability that some people can trigger and access more so than others? Do you think we're all allowed to have the ability? Maybe it's trained out of us?
It is trained out of us to a certain extent. There are cultures where people will meet in the morning and say, "What did you dream?" And where, like in the African cultures, so important to figure out what is important for ancestor and what are the problems that ancestors worked on that we now have, and etc. But it looks like that some people have more an innate talent than other people. So we might all be able to play basketball, and some people are really, really good at it, and it comes easier to them. And some people are more porous, like artists are a little bit more porous, like an antenna by which they pick up. And we can all train it. We all have the spirit guide. We all have ancestors that hang around us from time to time. Many people, if you just talk one-on-one with them, they will report, "Yes, I have had that experience. I met an ancestor, a deceased loved one in a dream," or "I sometimes feel grandfather around me." By far, the majority of the people will say that. It's just that the scientific culture cannot prove it, and so therefore it is not really maybe scientifically mainstream. But I think that if you just ask individual people, the majority of the people thinks this way.
You, in doing our notes before the show, one of the things that came up is there's a easy 5-step method to effectively get guidance from dreams. I don't know what your hourly rate is, but I'm hoping you'll do it for free here. What's your
absolutely do it for free here. It is this old wise man or woman that we all have, and we can meet it in the dream. There's more ways you can meet it, but one way is in the dream, and you can ask this wise, compassionate character a question, and you can do that before you go to bed. You ask a question, and then the dream will respond. And this comes back in any culture around the world, whether it is in the Greek times, in the African shamanism, in the Dalai Lama. I heard him recently talk about it. It's in Islam and Hinduism. Any spiritual tradition has figured this out, and it's even been studied at Harvard University, where they had a group of students ask their dream a question, and then they looked at the responses. And what they noticed was that 65% of the students would get a helpful answer, and the others didn't. So then it begged the question, why do some people get a helpful answer and others not? And that seems to be that their conclusion was, if you ask a question that's emotionally relevant to you or of medical nature, the dream answers. If you ask a question like, what did my neighbor have for dinner last night? Somehow the old wise woman within will probably think not relevant to your life.
Oh, interesting.
But if you ask a question like, why am I always in conflict with my brother? Or how can I be more loving to myself? Or how can I grow my business in a way that also benefits others? Then I ask a generous question that's relevant to my life. And then the old wise woman or man seems to answer. And
I still can't get her to answer the lottery numbers, just saying.
Well, maybe she thinks, Kevin, your life is not going to be
You're
better.
rich beyond your, money is not everything.
Well, maybe in your case, she wants you to earn it your own, or develop some talents that you would never develop if you
keep working on it, Kevin.
Yeah. Look, today's my birthday. I'm at one more trip around the sun. I'm running out of trips. Okay?
Nah, you're fine. What are you, 40?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I hear you, Kevin. It would be but it points to it doesn't. It's not a genie from Aladdin that just fulfills the wish. It answers questions that are relevant from its perspective for our life path, for us burning up our karma or the realization of our potential. And I might also, of course, I would love to win the lottery, but I might need to work my own way, because with the lottery I might be sitting at the beach instead of writing another book or doing therapy. Or
fulfilling your actual.
That sounds like the worst thing ever. Sitting at a beach and not writing. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, but the old wise woman thinks probably do something else.
Props to the old wise woman. Yeah.
But the 5 steps are: identify an issue that is emotionally relevant for you. So anything that comes to mind, anyone that is watching or listening, ask yourself, what am I working on? And that can be and something in you will pop forward. And then phrase the question. Make it one simple question, open-ended. What does it look like for me to move to Boston? How can I love myself more deeply? Instead of how do I earn a lot of money, how can I grow my business that is helpful for other people as well? And then write it down. Do a little ritual. And a ritual is light a candle, do a song, a dance, prayer, make a drawing. Do something that indicates to the other side that you're interested. So it's not so much what you do, but it's that you put your heart in it and really treat the other side as if there is an old wise man or woman, and that you're visiting this person, and you come with a little gift, and you say,
do you try to build a relationship with that person as your goal, or your?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And many cultures have noticed that if you build that relationship and you listen to your dreams, you get more dreams and you get better dreams. And one of the goals is indeed strengthen that relationship. And then also you will notice, I have more intuitive insights during the day. I have more coincidences, synchronicities that I encounter. So life turns its more guiding face towards us when we ask it for support and guidance.
So one of the questions that came up with looking at your information was, how do we tell the difference between someone who is there to help us and be beneficial for us and our family versus somebody who may have ulterior motives and using you as a conduit for something more negative?
Yeah. If you ask your dream a question, you can always trust it. It will give you an answer. Even if it's a nightmare, then the nightmare tries to waken you up to something that doesn't go well. A nightmare is something like a fever. There's something off that you want to pay attention to. Very often people ask me, how do I not have nightmares? But actually it's the wrong question. How do I understand my nightmares so that they go away? Because once you know what the problem is, your nightmare will go away. And they just don't go away by ignoring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I've never looked at it that way.
So lately, the past 4 years have been a little bit different. 4 years ago, my dog Chelsea passed away, and she was my little companion. She was almost 20 years old. She traveled the world with me. She was a base mascot in Greece. She was so brilliant. She knew all of her commands in English and in Greek.
We didn't have her on this show?
I know, my little Chelsea. I know it. But every time I have a bad dream that is just horrifying, terrifying, bad situation, my dog comes back and drags me out of that dream. And suddenly I'm not in there anymore. And I'm holding her and picking her up. And all of a sudden, life is back to good. Is there something that we can call on to drag us out of dreams like that, like a loved one? Can you call on them in the moment?
You can, but what usually we're not aware enough that we're in a dream. And if you're aware enough that you're in a dream and you meet the monster, you could yell out, "Oh, I want to wake up." And very high likelihood you will wake up, or you can just fly away. But even more interesting would be turn towards monster and ask monster, "Who are you? What do you want to tell me? Why are you following me?" And then you will see that monster will respond. And I've seen in one case that monster said, "I'm a discarded part of you." And
is that their childhood or?
No, it was actually an unlived talent of writing a book. This person always wanted to write a book and had just pushed it away. And then the talent became dark, like Beauty and the Beast. The Beast is also the one with the golden voice, or the little frog that is despised, but is also the prince. And when we turn towards some of these nightmare characters, they actually contain really vital information or qualities that we've just been ignoring too long.
Do you recommend people keeping a dream journal in order to understand themselves a little bit better?
Well, it's my way through life. So yes, it works for me. But everyone, of course, their own journey. And but even writing down the dreams gives a signal to the larger awareness within the divine God, or just imagined as the old, wise, compassionate woman, that we're interested in what it has to say. And then it starts to conspire with us to give us better dreams, more helpful dreams, and we get and you might more often encounter a deceased loved one. You will meet your spirit guides from time to time. So that way it will be tremendously helpful. Mm-hmm. And you get insights. It's almost like you get a peek underneath the surface that would be very difficult to access without the dreams.
I don't know if I can't remember if we've touched on this, but I want to bring it up. The importance, or not importance, how to trigger the inner healer.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that, my friend.
Yeah, so there's just like the body has has an autonomous healing agent. You cut your arm, and if you clean it, your arm will heal itself. And not unlike that is in our psyche. So if we're wounded, whether it's a veteran coming back from the war and having seen horrible things, or you lose a loved one and you have a tremendous heartbreak, if we turn towards what is wounded, the wound will start healing itself. Metaphorically, we need to clean it, and that means we just need to pay attention to it, show some interest in it. Then it will start healing. It's the old idea that only the wound heals, and it's a very, very deep notion and very simple. So if you have a wound on your arm, it's the wound actually that heals. So the wound is the healer. And so we need to turn towards what is wounded and tend to it. And then in a collaboration, healing will occur.
That's something that a previous guest that we've had on multiple times, her name is Rebecca Girasitano. She does hypnotic regressions and past lives and soul connections and things like that. That's very sort of reminiscent of what she has said.
Which Tiffany, real quick, gives me a great idea.
Yes.
On future shows.
Both of them together?
Oh, just interacting, bringing some guests that we've had on in the past. All right, so cheesy plug for our show. But yeah, can you imagine the conversations we could have?
I would love to have that.
Stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question here from Yuffie. In our dreams, some human houses are just chock full of ghosties. What's with that?
Yeah, so a lot of other questions that come with that. So it's great if you have that dream. First, write out the dream in the present tense, as if you're dreaming the dream right now. That gives a certain immediacy to the dream. And then look at the house. Is it a house you know, or is it a dream house? And it is full with ghosts. And then you can ask the question, is it literal or is it symbolic? Just like if I meet grandma, is it literally grandma or is it symbolically that it represents something? So do I encounter a house, it is a psychological structure that is filled with ghosts that are symbolic? Then I would ask, what could these ghosts be? What is there something haunting me? Is there something, what might be going on? Or is it more a literal encounter with a place in this reality where ghosts lived, or in the dream time where I meet ghosts? And if you, in both cases, whether it's symbolic or literal and it takes place in the dream time, it would be good to figure out, why am I encountering a house with ghosts? And who are these ghosts? And what would these ghosts maybe need? Or why
Or how can they help us with our daily life? Maybe they have advice. Maybe there's information.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you could even ask your dream, do the ghosts have something to say, or do they want to tell me something? But most of the time, those types of dreams are reflections of psychological complexes. So a complex as a ghost, a certain something that possesses us, that haunts us. So we have hauntings in the dream, and once in a while it is more literal. But usually something is haunting us that we haven't acknowledged yet. And the awareness of what haunts us is the first step to get rid of the haunting. So awareness sets us free. So turn towards it instead of turn away. Just like with woundings, if you turn away from your heartbreak, it just keeps on festering. If you turn towards it and tend to it, it hurts a lot in the beginning, but heartbreak can heal.
Yeah. And that's a very good therapist statement. One of those things that they send you home with and say, here's a worksheet on how to be a better you.
Yeah. Well, I know from my own experience that I lost my dad, which caused tremendous heartbreak, and not tending to it did lead me in the pit, and tending to it got me out of it.
And how long did that take you to face your fears and face your anxiety? It took a long time, right?
Yeah, first it took me 10 years. I was ignoring it between age 10 and 21. And then when I started facing it, it took also several months, maybe a year, before I really found some peace with it. Or I don't know if that's the right word, but it got better to terms with it.
Yeah.
I was thinking peace as well.
Peace. Yep. Did you ever connect with your father again in the dream realm?
Yeah, I see him once in a while. In the beginning, more often than these days. I haven't seen him now for years, I think, but once in a while he comes by.
Those are the best.
Those are the best.
Yeah. Are his visits the right time? And actually, that's honestly, that's a very personal question, I think, and you don't have to answer that.
No, I'm more thinking if I can find. It's not necessarily that he comes when I'm in trouble or so. So I don't know. It seems to be.
Or you need that fatherly advice or something.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not even sure on that.
Okay.
Almost like they decide on their own. I think that in this reality, if I would ask for the support, hey, Dad, I don't feel well today. It would be great if you're around and send me some energy, that he would do that. Yeah, so it's an interesting question.
Can you ask your guides to send you healing? And is that something that can be sent over the spirit wires?
Yeah. For you can, and then you can ask. Really, you can ask your dream, but you can ask your guides in this reality anything that you want. But it also is a bit ask good questions, and you get better responses. And so it appears that questions. No, I said the questions that have to do with your life path or are emotionally relevant trigger better responses, and so, but you always can ask. But I think that is important to know is you don't always get exactly what you want. If you have an illness, you want it to go away, of course, and not all illnesses go away. And so then you, on a certain moment, you have to shift a little bit and say, how can I better deal with this? Give me some intuition on how I better relate to this. And so in that way, you sometimes have to adapt your questions to the circumstances.
That makes sense.
Before we let you go, I know we're on a hard stop with you. Share with us what's the Young. I'm pronouncing it right.
Carl Jung.
Platform.
Yeah, it actually came out of a dream I had at night, where, in short, I saw Carl Jung on a platform working attached to his yacht in the lake of Zurich, and then in the dream the platform and Jung disappear, and a voice behind me says, "Now you have to draw it, identical to how it was."
Oh, wow!
Oops!
And I think, oh, okay, and I can draw.
You were having some artistic challenges that day.
Yeah, and I woke up, wrote it down, and took it a little bit more metaphorical, and as if I needed to create it. So I first created a platform for Jungian psychology, and any psychology that takes into account, like we've been talking today about, another world. So that can be Rumi, the poet, or African shamanism, or out-of-body experiences. And I created first a nonprofit, and to my own surprise, people came in large numbers to it. And then I put it also online in the Jung platform, and now we have good entry-level programs on how to work with your shadow, with dreams, synchronicity, the psychology of brothers and sisters, of your siblings. We just released a program on trauma, worked with the I Ching, the ancient oracle book from China. So those kind of programs for the general audience we have at the Jung platform. And we have also several free programs if people just want to get a little taste. Search on the price, and free. We have about 10 programs for free.
That's awesome. That's amazing. We'll definitely have to check those out.
Speaking of a little taste, yeah, I was going to say, he gave us an hour of some taste of dreams, and man, it's
I need 2 hours.
We need more.
I'd love to come back one day. It was great hanging out with the two of you, and I feel that you're also having your own experiences, which makes it always easier to talk about.
It's always amazing to talk to someone who has been on the journey themselves for a very long time. And I especially enjoy people who've dedicated their life to not just mental health, but the psychology behind what is going on in our world that some people just don't want to believe exists and don't want to admit that there is something more than just the physical. So
yeah,
we thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, check him in the show description are his links. Give him a follow it, check it out. Again, thanks so much for hanging with us. Really good stuff tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Tiffany.
We'll do it again. Please and thanks. All right. Thanks so much.